Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And I have found a time capsule of a post for a PvP update from Blizzard going all the way back to February 19th, 2014. That is over a decade ago. And in this PvP update, they basically had presented a feature that I think now in 2025 would have been absolutely fantastic and amazing. It's a type of feature that if you are familiar with Warcraft 3, you'll understand that they had basically in-game weekly tournaments that would rotate. It was very strong. It had very strong community building elements. It was probably one of the most memorable features of Warcraft 3, aside from obviously the amazing map editor that other games like Dota were birthed from, basically. But these weekly tournaments, and I think the main advantage of those weekly tournaments in Warcraft 3 is that it gave players every week to have something really big to look forward to. Because obviously PvP has its slew of issues, and it has its positive elements as well. I think that right now the game is getting close to being one of the most balanced states the game has ever been in. I think that current iterations of the gearing system have definitely improved over time. I think that they still need a little bit of improvement, and I think some more glaring issues obviously are related to MMR rewards and cheating, which they have made posts giving large warnings to players that if they are found cheating, that they will be taking action. It's just a matter of seeing whether or not they're going to back those words up with action, because if they do, then it's likely going to have a pretty big ripple effect for basically the entire community in that regard. They are trying to follow the community's feedback and constantly iterating on it by introducing the removal of add-ons and introducing their own iterations of add-ons and being very clear and outlining these things to the community and then having a discussion back and forth. So it seems like to me that they really do want to build a bright and beautiful future for World of Warcraft so that it can remain fun now and remain fun into the future. I know personally one of the big updates that I'm waiting to see is the reward track update that they're going to be relaying, I think, in the next patch, right before midnight. The midnight expansion comes out, because for me, I think the entire ranking system needs to be overhauled. I think one of the main issues players end up leaving the game is because they can't hit certain arena ratings that they were able to hit in the past, and it's because every single season there's a variable that decides whether your rating is higher or lower, and that's the player count, which makes absolutely no sense. That's like the number of people in the gym determines how heavy of weights you can move. This is just an archaic, outdated system. It doesn't work at all. And I think it causes a lot of frustration for players, because they might even have played in the previous season and said, I'm a 2,500 player. And now in this season, they're stuck at 2,000 rating. If that's happened to you, let me know in the comments down below. There are obviously issues, but the main purpose of this video is to talk about this PvP update, to talk about the feature that they had presented at this time, and I think back in this day, we had Halinka as the main PvP dev, and he received so much unjustified hate back then, and he had this idea here, which is the tale of the trial of the Gladiator. So at BlizzCon, we unveiled plans for a new form of ranked arena competition called the Trial of the Gladiator, a mode of play that would be available during certain hours and which would require players to use a special trial-only set of gear. Note that. Basically, you'd be templated, right? So anyone could participate in this event. The goal was to concentrate high-level competition to specific times to better match players against competitive opponents and to make exploitation more difficult. While there were a lot of potential benefits to that system, ultimately we agree with some of the concerns that the community has raised about the way it worked. Ultimately, players who couldn't play during these preset times for Trial of the Gladiator might feel like they are missing out. And it's ironic they're using missing out, and then nowadays they implement the most FOMO features I think I've ever seen. Like, we got monthly rotating transmogs that go in and out. We have literally temporary game modes that go in and out. Like, we have the most amount of stuff that you can miss out on. And the thing is that drives engagement. The fact that it is temporary, the fact that it is like you will miss out on a cool thing actually is what makes it memorable at the same time. If something's just always available, you kind of just forget that it's there. So it's funny that this is the main point of feedback. And I can remember this at the time. I think a lot of the PvP players, I remember Seedu tweeting about it, being concerned that he couldn't basically just sign up and win every one of these Trial of the Gladiator events every weekend. And then in hindsight, I'm sitting here and I'm like, that was such a dumb reason not to do it. It's like, why does someone feel entitled that they have to play in every single one of these every single weekend? Like, that shouldn't be the point. It should just be, this is something cool that happens weekly for PvP. That gets engagement from the community, because one of the biggest issues right now for PvP is that there's a lot of play at the start of a season, right, or start of expansion. Everyone's excited for the new changes. They're excited to gear character up, and play through the ladder. Then there's a little bit of fatigue throughout like the middle part of the season because they've mostly geared up. MMR starts to slow down a little bit. You're not getting as much rating. It takes a little bit before it bumps up before the end of the season, where a lot of players come back again to play for the rewards, to try and push to the top of the ladder, because that's the best time to push to the top of the ladder. And there's always this like kind of like middle period of every season that you'll see in any graph where the participation goes down by a significant margin. And having something like this that's every week, it's like, okay, well, there's this now, like you could do this. If it feels like you're stuck on MMR, you can't really go anywhere, there's this cool Trial of the Gladiator, basically in-game rotating tournament that's going to be popping up that you could participate in. And it gives something like a highlight of every single week, basically, for players, even if they've already moved past the gearing phase or they're frustrated by something. So I really wish that they had actually gone through with this. And I don't know if this is something that's like been packed up now permanently. This is never going to happen, type of deal. And maybe it just literally just can't be iterated on. I don't know what the limitations are of the current engine at the moment. Obviously, Halinka, one of the main guys I think that was presenting this, is not at Blizzard anymore. So I don't know if this idea has completely just faded from memory. That's why I wanted to pull it up from the depths of this, over a decade post to kind of relay it and talk about it, because I'd really like to know your guys' thoughts on it in the comments. Like, would you be signing up for an in-game tournament? Obviously, assuming that it's got filtration for MMR on a character. Maybe they could do like gold entry fees. This could be a way to like play for gold and have that kind of RP element as well to the game. I've seen a lot of community tournaments that pop up every now and then as well that have like entry fees for gold. I've honestly considered running my own, if you guys would actually be interested in that. I feel like a dueling style event. I played in a dueling event that was organized a few months ago, and it was like this 2v2 1v1 thing where you have two players on a team and then they go one at a time at each other. So it's like a 1v1 tournament, but there's two players. So it kind of helps out a little bit with the class imbalance, because you might have a good pairing of classes where one has strengths against the weaknesses of the other. I thought that was really fun. I thought that was a nice layout for that, because honestly, 1v1 is actually really fun at the moment. I have a lot of fun dueling currently in the War Within. It's probably one of the most fun points of PvP for me at the moment, actually. So if you guys would be interested in signing up with that, you can tune into my live streams. We've started them up now on YouTube as well as over on other platforms. So check those out in the description down below. Hit the subscribe button for that type of deal, because if there is serious interest in that, I would definitely be down to do it. Obviously, I've been commentating for a while, and I think it's always fun to be able to organize these types of things, but I always get concerned that no, there's not going to be enough players that sign up for it, and it's just going to kind of be a wash at that point. But if there's definitely interest, I would be down to do it. But at the same time, I feel like them doing it to put this actually just in the game, it's just a rotating tournament that you can sign up for whenever you want. You don't have to deal with any sort of third party. You don't have to deal with external website. The same thing as Warcraft 3. I feel like that was one of the, the big memorable parts of that game, and something that could be taken forward if it's possible to iterate on. So this is something that I would like to see. This is kind of like a sidestep. There are obviously other issues, bigger problems, I think, obviously, that could be discussed, and we always discuss them in the video. So it is my hope that Blizzard is listening to all of this feedback that's getting gathered and able to iterate on them moving into the future, and we will know that for certain when we get to that reward track plan. I think that's like a big one for me. I'm honestly hoping it's not a blowout and not just like, yeah, the rewards are 100 rating lower now, and you can get this at this now, and it's just the same system, because this system, we've seen how it burns players. We need a complete revamp. We've also seen how MMR systems burn players in other games like Marvel Rivals, whenever they change the threshold of how many players are in the highest rank versus the lowest rank, it always creates frustration, because that's your little metric of judging where you are in the hierarchy of the game. And if that gets disrupted, your whole mood towards the game is completely altered, and it's likely going to lead to player churn and players departing. So for me, I think we need a complete reset. We need to just wipe the table clean of players' expectations of what rating they're at by introducing a different system, likely one that doesn't include like a direct number, something that's fresh. It's just icons as opposed to numbers, because the numbers are the issue, right? There's too much variance season to season. One season 3600 rating is the highest on the ladder, the next season it's 2600 rating on the ladder, and you might think that variance doesn't matter, but it really does. That variance is determining every player's outlook towards their own performance. If that variable drops 1,000 rating from one season to the next, they think they're 1,000 rating worse, and that feels really bad. So this needs to be addressed. I think it is one of the biggest issues at the moment, that seemingly just kind of gets glanced over, like, oh, we'll just put more MMR in the game, we'll just bump everybody's numbers up a little bit again over time, and it's like that doesn't fix it. The frustration is already felt. The player's already gone at that point. So definitely those issues I would like to see hit. But I thought this was cool. Just wanted to make a little bit of a time capsule video to review that there had been some cool ideas presented in the past, but ultimately didn't make it to the live game. And now in hindsight, I'm kind of wishing that something like this did. So let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys for tuning into the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the discussion, and I will see you in the next one.